Hey everybody, it's Lance with Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers. And in this video today, I have for you The Walking Dead Surrounded by Button Shy Games. Now, even though you only have me in this video, and typically I do the soloable games only by myself, because Sam, my wife, isn't going to ever do a solo game. You can solo this game, but it is for 1 to 4 players, so you can play this beyond just a solo experience. It's going to be a cooperative experience when you're playing with multiple people, but this very much is a solo game that can be played with additional people. So just keep that in mind when you hear 1 to 4 players. It is for ages 12 and up. Takes about 20 minutes to play, and it's from designer Jason Tagmeyer. And this obviously takes place in the Walking Dead universe. And we're talking about the graphic novel series, The Walking Dead, with familiar artwork from that graphic novel series. It does have the same characters that you would be familiar with if you know the Walking Dead TV show, but it's going to look a lot different and not going to look like the characters that you see from the TV show. Now, as you might imagine, The Walking Dead, this is going to have zombies. So this is a zombie-themed game in which you are trying to survive and take out the zombies as you play cards from this 18-card deck. This is a microgame, as is the case with all of Button Shy's games and what they're familiar with, coming in this wallet contraption. And you will be making choices as to what you want to do with those cards, playing them as locations or occupants. Let's go down to the table where I'll show you how this one works in addition to the Under Siege expansion, and then we'll come back and I'll share my thoughts on it. All right, so here we have the Walking Dead Surrounded game with the Under Siege expansion. Now, as is the case with Button Shy games, you know, they come in these wallet-sized contraptions. That's what's going to hold all the cards and the instructions, having 2 sleeves here. And that makes the game very portable, and that's always been a nice factor about Button Shy games. You know, this is a micro game. This is going to have 18 cards with an instruction leaflet here. Here's half of the deck of cards, and here is the other half of the deck of cards, and a scenario book. We'll come back to that here in just a second. And so these are the 18 cards, and that's all the game is, these 18 cards. Now, we'll get back to the Under Siege expansion here, but I'm going to set that off to the side for right now. And I'll set off the rules and everything else. So this is the game, and what you're going to do with these cards, you're going to shuffle them up, and then you are going to make the map. And so the map is going to start with the top card, and you'll leave it on the location side. You want to make sure that all these cards are on the location side with their location name and number down here in the bottom. And there's a number of things that you'll want to pay attention to this. And so you've got stuff in the top right corner, and this is really going to pertain to the scenarios, but usually these are also good things that are going to give you points if you're able to surround the card. And I'll explain what that means here in just a second. Some locations are going to have special abilities or negative things attached to the location. This is a good one. If placed adjacent to a walker, do not spawn more walkers. That's great. We don't want to spawn walkers. And then some places are going to have occupants already in that location, such as a walker here. This is not good. We don't like that. And if at any time you have a location card on top of the deck that has a zombie as an occupant on it, you have to place it out here on its location side. I'll explain that more in detail. This location here is going to give you extra points if you're able to surround it. However, it has a negative effect on the card. So these are just some examples here of what some of these locations are like. Let's stick with the church here. This is a pretty basic location, and it comes with an occupant. It comes with a survivor. That's great. Now, at the beginning of the game, you have to take the top card and you place it in the middle of the playing area, and this is going to be your starting location. And then you immediately take the second card and you flip it over to the back side. Now, on the back side are occupants. meaning that there are going to be some people that are just survivors, they're going to be zombies, and this zombie in particular, it's a super zombie. It counts as 2 zombies. And then there are going to be some that have leaders on them that have this star icon. As you can see, some also come with special abilities that you get to activate whenever you place them adjacent to locations. More on that here in just a second. But let's say that this is my starting card that I have to place out as occupants because we've placed our starting location. Now I need to put my occupants. Your starting occupant card has to have zombies placed adjacent to the starting location, so we got to do something like that. And now we're ready to play the game. Now, throughout the course of the game, you are only allowed to see the top card. You're not allowed to run through the deck of cards here to see anything. You are only able to see the top of the top card. You cannot flip it over and take a peek at what's on the underside. You can only see the info on the top. Now, you take the deck and you pass it around to the next player in turn order for them to make their choice. And the choice that you have is to either play this as a location or to flip it over, and once you flip it over, you're locked in. You have to play it as the occupants. And what you are doing throughout the course of the game is you are trying to place locations out here where you've got enough survivors to take out the zombies and not have the zombies overrun those locations, because that's how you get a lot of points in the game. Cards are also going to give you extra points if you surround them and if you avoid dealing with negative things. So if it's my turn, the choice that I have right now is to play location 16 downtown out here, and I've got to play it next to an occupant card. I cannot place it next to a location card, and I can't place it where it's not adjacent to anything. Cards have to be adjacent to each other, and you'll be moving cards around, and you can't have cards floating in open space. Everything kind of has to stay compact and within the grid that you are making. You also can't rotate these cards in any manner. They've got to stay in their orientation as they come out of the deck. Now, if I play a location card just like I did, then I've got to take the next card and flip it over and show the occupants. And if I'm able to, I've got to play this card in a manner where more zombies are spawning next to the location that I just played. So you always want to be very careful about when you play these locations, because they will more than likely come with zombies with them. And you want to try to avoid getting a lot of zombies in these locations because you're not going to be getting a lot of points. Now, the other choice that I have on my turn to make is to just completely say, you know what, I don't want this location. I'm going to roll with it and take whatever I get on the other side. And now I'm locked into playing this as an occupant card, and maybe I play it right there like such. Now, the game is going to continue until I get to the end of the deck, or in the rare event that you are playing a card as an occupant, but there is nowhere to be able to put it on the board, then you are immediately going to end the game. And all the rest of the cards that are in the deck get discarded. You'll have to go to final scoring. So how does final scoring work? Well, after you get all these cards out here, you're going to take a look at all the different locations, and battles are going to be taking place in those locations. You'll count up the number of zombies and subtract every zombie with every survivor that there is in that location, and you'll negate them. So one zombie takes out one human takes out one zombie. So these two are going to offset each other, and I'm not going to get any points at this location. If we were to take a look at this spot right here, that human would take out this zombie, so they're taking out each other, leaving this leader right here, and the leader is going to get me 1 point. Let's pretend that we had another card right here, so that we can do the full scoring right here. Again, these two are going to cancel each other out. The survivor is going to give me 1 point. The leader is going to give me 1 point, plus 1 point for every survivor in this location that is still surviving after the battle takes place. So in this case, again, he's getting me 1. He's getting me 1 for himself, but he's getting me an additional 1 for this survivor up here. Now, because we surrounded this location, we also get whatever's up in this top corner, which is an additional 2 points. Now, we're going to ignore this ability right here, which actually makes this be a double zombie. So, you know, these two would have to take out this zombie, meaning we wouldn't get points for this guy up here. But let's ignore that for this time being. Now, Again, some survivors have special abilities on them, and whenever they touch adjacently to a location, you get to do that ability, which is to sometimes move occupant cards to an adjacent spot that they're next to. Sometimes it's to burn a card, meaning to take a card that's out here that's not great for you and putting it either on top of the deck or the bottom of the deck. To be used again later on in the game. There's also going to be the ability to look, and whenever you got that ability, you get to peek at the top card of what's underneath it so that you are more informed about what you want to do on that decision. And that's the gist of the game. You keep passing this deck around. Players take turns. Again, you score at the end once all the cards are played, or if you cannot finish your turn because there's not a legal placement to be able to place the cards. I do real quick want to show you that this game comes with a score manual to show you how well you did. And so you are trying to compare your score to this chart here if you're just doing the base game. There are extra points for the other items that you can unpack that are on these cards, such as this knife up here. It gives you 1 point, but it's also important for the scenarios because, again, this game comes with a scenario booklet that, oh, there's an extra card, that is going to be something that you can work through, and each scenario has a standard, hard, and expert mode, such as full up here. We want to surround the different gas can locations and try to get them surrounded so that we can get points, but also so that we can succeed in this scenario. As you can see here, we've got lots of different scenarios, 18 to be exact, with this base game, but the Under Siege expansion is going to add in some additional scenarios, adding all the way up to 24 scenarios. You do have 6 extra cards that you're going to shuffle into the deck. Now, what this is going to add are explosives, which if you can surround an explosive, that's 1 extra point. But if you don't surround it, you're going to lose a point. And then in addition to that, you are going to have mercenaries. Now, mercenaries, whenever you place them adjacent to a location, they are going to, and whenever you score this location, they are single-handedly going to eliminate all the zombies, and they don't die, they survive. Plus, they give you 1 point for every zombie that they eliminate. So they're going to get you a lot of points if you use them wisely, taking out zombies where locations are going to be overrun. So you want to try to get them in those tough spots so that they can take out all the zombies. But that's what this expansion adds to the game. And there you have it. That's what you got here with The Walking Dead Surrounded. Let's go back up top where I'll share my thoughts on this one. Okay, so there you have it. That's how you play The Walking Dead Surrounded. Now, what do I think about this game? Well, I do like The Walking Dead. I like both the TV show and the graphic novel series. I've read a bunch of the graphic novel series, not all of it, but a lot of it. And I really do like that universe. I like the dilemma that a lot of the characters have to go through, and that it's not just a straight up, kill the zombies and let's try to survive the night. You realize that the good guys, or the humans, let's say, are not always easier to deal with than the zombies. So that being said, I had high expectations as I got into this, and just the fact that it's in that universe lends itself to me wanting to play it. And so getting it to the table was not a problem. The fact that it is a micro game and that it's a game that you can solo really gives it a lot of energy for me to want to bring it to the table and try it out and play it often. So that's where I'm coming at as I get into this review portion of this video, telling you my thoughts on it. Now, I have to admit, it was not super straightforward for me to figure out all the rules for this game. And it's not necessarily got a whole lot of rules. As you saw in that rules portion of the video, this is a fairly, should be a straightforward experience, but there are some things about it that are kind of confusing. The scoring is not as clear and straightforward as I would like about this one. There are some things that can be easy to miss, and you may have to play this a time or two before you start to realize, oh, I might have got that wrong, or at least that was my experience with it. And I just sort of felt like for it being such a small micro game that it shouldn't have been as difficult as I found it to be. Now that may just be my personal experience with it, but I have a hunch that that might be some other people's experience as they get into this game. Now, if that doesn't run you away from it, that you can kind of, fumble around the first time or two of playing this and then get the hang of the game and start to really experience it, then, this might be something for you to really dig your teeth into. Now, the rest of the experience. I do like what you get with this game. There are some tough choices that you really have to make. And you're forced to make those choices really early on in the game. And it is that way pretty much all the way throughout the course of the game. So if you like tense decision making, if you like really kind of having to, be in anguish trying to figure out, should I do this, should I do that? Then you're going to get that a lot in this game. Now, to be clear, it is the same choice time and time again. So this is going to be kind of like a one-trick pony in that you're constantly deciding whether you should flip this card over for its occupants and deal with whatever comes out on that end, or if you need the location to try and get more points, try to close off some spaces on the board, or give yourself more opportunities to put in more occupants and deal with whatever you get with that. That's what you have in this game. You're just constantly making that choice over and over again in this game. So going over that rules portion of the video should give you a pretty good idea if you think that this is a game that's going to work out well for you, just making that choice time and time again. Now, that being said, what you do also get with this game is that scenario booklet and trying to work through those different puzzles with the scenarios. And that is a lot of fun because you are having to constantly, each time you go through a new scenario, and each time you do it on a different difficulty level, you are having to change the way you play. So you can't just do the same thing over and over and over again and expect to succeed in every single scenario. You do got to change that just slightly. And some are much more difficult than others to succeed in. So that being the case, you do get different experiences as you go through that scenario booklet. Now, obviously, 18 card deck, you could start to memorize a little bit of the front and backs of all of the cards, and that's going to take a little bit of the luster off of this game after you've played it enough times to be able to memorize it. But you're not going to know the order in which those cards come out. So there is randomization with that, which is a good thing and a not so great thing in terms of replayability, but also the luck factor. You can just be totally unlucky in this game, and just because of the way the cards shuffled out, you're not going to do well in it. And so that could be a dampener on the experience that you have with this one. All in all, I did enjoy it. It was one that made me want to play it time and time again. It challenged me. This is a very challenging game. This is a game where you might get humbled a time or two before you really start to get the swing of things and start to figure out what do you need to be doing to do well in this game, because there's definitely good moves and definitely not so good moves. And it may take a time or two to figure out that, that rhythm of the game. Once you do get into the rhythm, is it a game that could start to feel stale and samey? Yes, if you don't have that scenario booklet. If this game did not come with the scenario booklet, I don't know that I would recommend it. But because it does have that scenario booklet, I think that is a fun factor that you can play through the scenarios. The Under Siege expansion does add in additional scenarios, so that's a good thing. It also adds in those mercenaries and explosion cards. There's only 6 of them, so it's not a ton, but that's going to definitely make the game, in my opinion, easier to work with, because the mercenaries kill all the zombies that are nearby, and the explosions are going to give you extra opportunities to gain points. The mercenaries also give you extra points too. I suppose the explosives give you the opportunity to lose points, because they will take away points if you don't surround them. So that is an extra bit of concern and thinking that you have to do when you play with this deck. But ultimately, I feel like it makes the game easier, which is a breath of fresh air, because this game is challenging. It's really hard to do well in this game and to beat scenarios on harder difficulties. When you add in the draw of the luck factor, the randomization factor, and just the way you've set up the map, you can get yourself into some really bad spots. So adding in this Under Siege expansion really kind of helps give you ways out of that. It is a little, it adds in some forgiveness into the game. So if you find the original game to be too challenging, add in this expansion, and I think you're going to find some relief there to get better enjoyment out of the game. I don't think you have to have this in order to enjoy this, but I do think it adds value to it. So all in all, I'm going to give this game a 6.8, which for me is a game that is right there just below a game that I'm going to, you know, be real quick to get off the shelf, to want to show other people, to want to get out to the table and play. 6.8 is going to be the kind of game for me that if somebody wants to play it, I'd be happy to bring it out. I'd be happy to teach them and show them the ins and outs of it and to play a round or two with them. But it's probably going to stay at just that level. Again, I'm not going to be gung-ho about getting it out of the shelf and playing it for myself over and over and over again. I might do it once in a while, but that's kind of where it's at for me. So 6.8, I enjoy it. I don't know that I love it. So that's my thoughts here on The Walking Dead Surrounded with the Under Siege expansion. Leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this game here, what you think about Button Shy games, what you think about The Walking Dead, whether that's the graphic novel series or the TV show. If you like this video, please, please, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our great new content. I'm Lance, and this is Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.